Tonight on land speculation, we're going to dig into March Madness. The first round is now over-ish, and so it's about high time we figure out who might actually win this whole damn thing if the mascots, the animals, the universities, the student bodies had to actually fight in a form of brutal carnage. We're going to do it for real here tonight on land speculation.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. This is land. That ain't just speculation. That's something we do with kinky. Quack, 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 quack.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack.
Honk, 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 honk. Give us your money.
That would be weird.
Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Let's see. I eat bars of soap for breakfast. I love bars of soap. After midnight, things get weird. Quack, quack.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let it go. Let it go. Cock.
I like that one.
Quack, 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 quack. Come on, ducks.
All right. Well, we're live here on Land Speculation on YouTube. This basketball just seems to keep going in the hoop. It's whoever is shooting is very talented here. Jeanette in Calming the Chaos, welcome, and anybody else who's lurking out there, good to see you guys. Yeah, so the first round of the NCAA tournament is now just about in the books. I think the final games of the first 32 are wrapping up more or less as we speak. Of course, if you're watching this after the fact, then that is not the case. But I haven't done a bracket, and so I thought it's about high time I do a bracket. We don't typically do a ton of sports content on this channel, and so we're going to treat this literally. We're going to do this literally as we have in the past, and we're gonna play out this tournament as though it's a real tournament, and see what happens. So if you guys in the chat want to help us out a little bit here as we move along, glad to have you with us. It's like raining in DC right now. It's a very tranquil night. So okay, we're gonna see what happens here. So let me see. I gotta get my layers sorted out here. Let's okay. We'll turn that off, and we'll turn this on. But then we gotta hang on. We gotta get this this resized. It's not filling the window in the right way. So we're gonna get this so that you guys have the perfect view here. All right, all right. There we go. There we go. Okay, away we go with the brackets. So the first matchup of March Madness here is between Duke and Siena. And goodness. So Duke is the Blue Devils. They're down in North Carolina. Siena's mascot, of course, is the humble Toyota. Because, oh no, it's the Bulldog. Siena. So I'm not really a fan of schools that don't know where they're located and can't communicate it effectively in their name. Also, I have like a personal grudge against Siena for something they did in the 2009 NCAA tournament. So I can't get behind Siena, and so I've been staring at them here because I knew this was going to be the first matchup, and I can't do it. And I don't know like I don't know how powerful a Blue Devil really is. I don't even really know what that means, but I have to believe it's going to be more powerful than a Bulldog. And so you guys, I want you guys to help me out here in the chat, letting me know what you think the right answer is on some of these matchups as we move along. But yeah, I think Devils should beat Dogs here out of the gate. Apparently Siena is in New York somewhere. Okay, so now we have Ohio State and TCU. Ohio State is the Buckeyes, which is the most powerful poisonous nut in the world. And TCU is a bunch of horned frogs. I think I always struggle with these matchups with like a thing. There's like an animal, and then there's a thing that the animal, if the animal tried to eat it, it would kill the animal. But like the other thing can't eat the animal at all. And so I don't know. Target US, hi. Michael Frankowiak, hi. Thanks guys for joining us here as we start building up this bracket. It's good to have you with us. Let us know what you think here. Wild Bill. No, we don't have a tiger and a dog here. We have a horned frog and we have a Buckeye here in this matchup. And I will admit I have a bit of a bias in this conflict. And so I don't know. Michael, I recognize you have very poor judgment on such things here in the chat. So I'm going to disregard. I don't know. I mean, I think by and large, like inanimate objects probably have to go away if they're just inanimate. So I guess I will go along with the horny frog. The horny frog. I don't know what this illustration is of the horny frog, but I guess we'll do the horny frog here in this matchup. Okay. As we go along, I gotta remember this stuff. So this is the St. John's, the Red Storm from St. John's, which is another school that like doesn't tell you where it is in their name. And then there's Northern Iowa, and Northern Iowa is I guess they're the Panthers. It's a little disappointing for a school that's from a place as interesting as Northern Iowa. You would think they would come up with something more Iowa-y than that. So yeah, I don't know. The Red Storm is pretty darn powerful. I feel like, is a red storm is it like a blood storm? Is that like a giant like mass of blood, or is that like Jupiter is full of red storms? Like Jupiter has that spot on it. I guess I'm thinking probably these cataclysmic weather events might be enough to inundate That's kind of a lame looking panther too. Like that panther looks like it has something amiss with it. It's also missing the rest of its body. It's like just a panther head. So, I mean, between the two locations, I would probably pick Northern Iowa over New York City, but we're going to go ahead with St. John's here in the Red Storm. Okay, this matchup. Okay, the Kansas Jayhawks. It's one of the dumbest and dopiest looking birds out there, and I believe this opponent is California Baptist. What is their mascot? I don't even know what they are. They're the Lancers. The Lancers. What the hell's a Lancer? I guess it's like a guy that's like gonna stab you with like a long stick. I don't know. I need some help, guys, here in the chat. The Kansas Jayhawks versus the California Baptist Lancers. We're dealing with like a sort of geographic cultural struggle here in a few of these matchups between like the rural Midwest and the coasts. I don't know where California Baptist University is. Let's see. Where is it? It's in Riverside, California, which is like inland. I'd have to imagine it's a small school, and I don't know how the hell they made it into the tournament, frankly. I can't really imagine they're very good. Bird beats inanimate object. Yeah, I mean, like somebody could like stab a bird with a spear pretty darn well. Michael says this, but who's holding the spear? I guess the Lancer is holding the spear. So the Lancer is gonna stab the bird. That seems awfully cruel, doesn't it? What did the bird do? Yeah, I mean, maybe it is the Lancer. I think the Lancer is probably the right answer here. So, yeah, I think we'll go Lancer in this one, which brings us to the Louisville Cardinal here, and maybe we'll go ahead. We'll start doing these as we'll do the Louisville Cardinals here versus the South Florida Bulls. What are you guys thinking here? We'll put this up here as a poll, and just see if we get any results here. Lancer is the answer, says Calming the Chaos. Okay, well, we made the right decision then. So, okay, the Louisville Cardinals here against the South Florida Bulls. You would think a bull would like devour a cardinal, but you guys are picking the Cardinal for some reason. Why is that? I need a justification on this one, because that doesn't actually seem right. The bird can shit on the bull. That's true. Birds can definitely ruin your day. A bird, shitting in the wrong spot can absolutely ruin your day. It seems pretty overwhelming here, so we're going to go, I guess, with the Cardinal. You guys seem to be pretty convinced that the Cardinal is the answer. All right, how are we doing now? We have, okay, the Michigan State Spartans. Okay, NDSU, are those the Bison? Oh no, well, Thundar is the mascot, and he is the Bison. Yeah, they're the Bisons. It's kind of like the Bison's like having like a snot rocket come out of its nose there. I don't know quite what's going on there. Okay. All right, guys, we're trying to get this all sorted out here. Okay, let's see. Let's see. If we're going to do Spartans versus the Bison. What are we thinking there? Those are two pretty powerful entities. Arctic Cockwe, it's good to have you with us here in the chat. Nightbot, as always, is doing Nightbot things. By the way, guys, if you wouldn't mind dropping a like and a subscribe on the video, as we are getting out of the gate here, I appreciate that. The likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. Check our description, as always, for the links to our Discord, our Duck Fund, and our sister channel, Land Ducks International. The Discord is our 24/7 chat platform. The Duck Fund is our Buy Me a Coffee link. And if you want to see other videos, the Land Ducks International channel has stuff. The Lady Trojans, Jerry Carter. I mean, were there? I guess the women of Troy were Trojans. Yes, there's. I mean, anytime a team is named the Trojans, there is certainly an insinuation going on, for sure. So looks like we're mostly leaning towards Spartans here. It sounds like, which I think is a fair choice. I think a Spartan could probably figure out the weaponry to take out a Bison. So we'll agree with you guys. We'll go with the Spartans here. The Bison goes away, which brings us to the UCLA Bruins against the UCF Knights. Okay, Bruins against Knights. Are they the Golden Knights or are they just the Knights? I can't remember. UCF is in Florida. UCLA, of course, is in Los Angeles. UCLA has a very proud basketball history. Ladies like Trojans, good for protection, says Calming the Chaos. I remember watching a game a few years ago in which South Carolina successfully beat Oregon State. Now, South Carolina, of course, is famously known as the Cocks, and Oregon State is famously known as the Beavers. And South Carolina beat Oregon State by several touchdowns that day. The Cocks really creamed the Beavers that day. And I was thinking, man, it was one of those days where maybe some Trojans would have been a good idea. Okay, so we've got Knights. Let's see. I always struggle to remember what a Bruin even is, but you guys are pretty unanimous here on the Knights. So I think we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead with the Knights and advance to the next round here. Now, okay, this is the Yukon Huskies versus I believe Furman is the Paladins. Mrs. Land and I were trying to figure out where Furman is located the other night, and I think we figured it out. It's somewhere. I believe it's somewhere in the. I think it's in like Greenville, South Carolina ish. Furman University. It's actually like a surprisingly decent school in terms of like its academic standards. I guess I struggle a little bit with like what a paladin is, but I think it. So what is a paladin? That's a good question. What is a paladin? Paladin is a fantasy archetype, a character class often depicted as a holy warrior or as a virtuous knight bound by a sacred oath. Okay, a sacred knight? Like a holy knight bound by a sacred oath versus a dog? I don't know. I mean, that sounds like the knight would probably win that battle. Does it not? I mean, huskies are very cute, but they are pretty wimpy. Like, they whine a lot. I would like to have a husky. Husky's like a cat in a dog body. But, I mean, in terms of who would actually win this, Those guys that pile up stuff on the docks. I don't know. It sounds like somebody that's like fighting a holy war. Somebody fighting a holy war can be pretty darn convincing. So I guess I'm assuming if you guys have all voted here, that I will vote also. I will tie it, and I will break the tie with my own vote here. I'm going to go with like the Holy Warrior. I think Huskies are cute, but I just don't see a Husky winning anything here. Okay, this is a matchup between the Florida Gators and their opponent was Prairie View A&M. What's their mascot? What are they? They are the another frickin' Panther? Panthers is like one of the lamest mascots in sports. So we'll open this one up for voting here if you guys feel inclined. Gators versus Panthers. Thoughts? Okay, we got some votes here. Seems like folks are picking the Gators, which I agree with. I think the Gators is the right answer. You're Panther? Do you mean Cougar? Oh no, it's getting close. Okay, well I think I'm gonna go Gators here. All right, we're gonna go Gators. It seems like there's a lot of Panthers too, and I just, if you can't come up with a unique name, speaking of non-unique names, okay, here's the Clemson Tigers. This is the Tigers versus the Hawkeyes. I don't understand that one. So Iowa against Clemson. Iowa, the Hawkeyes. Clemson is the Tigers. Clemson is in South Carolina. Big orange footprint. They're orange and purple Tigers though at Clemson. They're very jazzy, kind of metrosexual Tigers. Versus the Iowa Hawkeyes in their black and gold. Coming to Chaos, graduated from Chapman University. Their mascot is the Panther. Being 60 makes you a Panther? Yeah, I know Chapman University. That's a good little school. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like, what's the vote here? Are you picking Tigers? I guess we picked against the Buckeyes, so Jeanette's not going with metrosexual animals. I would feel bad if I picked against the Buckeyes and then also picked against the Hawkeyes. They're both eyes. This is a tie. Jeanette is arguing vehemently against metrosexual animals here. There was an incident years ago. Clemson was playing a football game, and one of their players was caught on video, like in the bottom of the pile. Like a bunch of guys, like there's a tackle, like he tackled a guy, and in the bottom of the pile, while the players were like unpiling off of this tackle pile, he was caught on video, like tickling the groin area of the player he had tackled, and it was very clear he was doing a little bit of tickling of the nether regions of this other player. And so this became a bit of a scandal because that seemed like a bit of an invasion of the person's privacy. And I get footballs can be a physical sport, but I don't think you're supposed to tickle the testicles of the other players when you tackle them. That seems like borderline some kind of sexual deviancy, assault, something. And I remember his explanation after the fact was, I don't know how he said this. He said it was gay if you don't tickle the other guy's testicles. I don't know how that works. Anybody who's played football, I would I guess defer to their insights and thoughts on that. I don't know. I think I would feel guilty if I let the Hawkeyes slide through here. So I'm going to close the poll. I'm going to override folks. I'm going to pick the metrosexual Tiger, and Jeanette, I'll give you another round down the road to express your animosity toward the metrosexual Tiger. Okay, this is the Vanderbilt Commodores, and who the hell were they playing? It's like the M guy on a horse. Let me double check who that even was. That matchup. Let's see. Vanderbilt was playing McNeese State. Where the hell is McNeese State? I have so many questions here. McNeese State, okay, they're Cowboys, and they are from Louisiana. Okay. Commodores versus Cowboys. So Commodore's like a ship captain, right? How did we get ship captains in the middle of Tennessee? Boy. Arctic Cockney. I'm glad that ball tickling wasn't an established part of the sport when I played football in school. Well, the Northwestern coach got fired for, I guess, creating a culture of intimidation because his players they were doing a thing where, like, when I guess the players would, like, go to the locker room after practice to take a shower, the upperclassmen would stand in 2 rows and they would each like spin around in a circle. And so this was supposed to be like this was hazing. This was a car wash. They called it the car wash that you were supposed to walk through, which was a bunch of like you imagine like big burly offensive linemen spinning around in circles, and you're supposed to walk through them. Think about like the way that there's those spinny things when you go to the car wash that like wash the sides of your car. Boy, hazing. Okay. All right, seems like we're picking Cowboys here. So, congratulations, McNeese State. I've rarely heard of you, but you're advancing. All right, now we have Nebraska. The Cornhuskers. Formerly known as the Bug Eaters, and they are playing. Who are they playing? They're playing no more Trojans. Man, the Trojans are everywhere. So we have Cornhuskers against Trojans here. Because the Cornhuskers colloquially known as the Big Red, and there was lots of corn. So people like Trojans. I guess you could. I don't know. There's a relationship here between Trojans and corns on the cob, I suppose. Trojans are limp. That's true. Trojans by themselves can't do much because their society died out, so they're all dead. Okay, so it seems like the Cornhuskers. We're gonna be nice to the Cornhuskers here. We're gonna advance the Cornhuskers, and man, I'm clicking between so many windows. I remember these bracket nights. They're always complicated. Okay, here we have the North Carolina Tar Heels against the Virginia Commonwealth University Rams. So I'm trying to remember what is actually meant by a Tar Heel. Okay, Tar Heel is a nickname for a native or a resident of North Carolina, as well as the official nickname for the teams of the university. Yeah, no kidding. Likely referencing the North Carolina's 19th century tar industry and the tenacity of its soldiers. North Carolina was once a major producer of tar and turpentine from its pine forests, leading to the nickname tar boilers. The term became a badge of honor after North Carolina soldiers reportedly held their ground in a battle with such tenacity. They earned the reputation for having tar on their heels. Okay, so we have like Confederate soldiers against Rams. I don't know. I'm not really that into like, secessionist movements in the United States. And so I'm kind of like thinking we gotta do the Rams here. You guys are picking Tar Heels. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do the VCU sounds like a sick. That's true, and it's a very boring school. Like VCU is one of the more boring schools that's in this whole thing. But yes, you could get a case of VCU, which actually could be very potent. It sounds like an STD. Okay, I'll go. I'll trust you guys. I'll go along with the Tar Heels here since it's now 75%. All right, Tar Heels it is. Which brings us to the Illini, or the Illinois Fighting Illini. These are two very contrasting mascots. The Fighting Illini, like Native American warriors against Quakers. The Quakers from the University of Pennsylvania. So this seems like on its face to be a rather obvious matchup, I would think. On the other hand, like, it was like America won the continent, so I guess the Quakers ended up kind of winning here. Calming the Chaos loves Rams. Quakers would win. How would the Quakers win? Just through like intellectual. Yeah, you guys are fans of the Quakers here in the chat. Oats. That's okay, they oats. That makes all the sense in the world. They would oats. Age and wisdom. Fair enough. Okay, the Quaker oats advance. I think that's what we're gonna do. The Quaker oats seem to advance here. So congratulations to University of Pennsylvania. Oh God, this is the St. Mary's. What are they? They're the Gales. I assume they mean like the storm version of a gale, and not like a bunch of like I'm imagining like a group that lives of like sort of older ladies that live in a retirement village that get together on Tuesdays to play pinochle. And that group is called the Gales. That's what the St. Mary's is here versus the Aggies from Texas A&M. Man, Texas A&M, that is a weird school. Like Texas A&M is a cult. Like that is a weird school, and some of their traditions are highly questionable. I don't know how they got that way. The Golden Girls. Gales sounds Irish. Yeah, I'm picturing like the Golden Girls here, and they're probably like complaining about they're competing stories about how their kids don't visit them enough, and probably very very involved in sort of gossipy politics with the retirement community. I'm trying to remember the Golden Girls show and the kind of stuff they talk about. But it seems like we're partial to the Gales here, so we'll go ahead with the Gales and move them along, which brings us to the Houston Cougars. So now we have real Cougars. We've eliminated multiple Panthers, but now we have real Cougars against some Vandals. Vandals is a very weird team name. Aggies, do you think Loogie or Snot because of, like Hawk and Aggie? I don't think that's what that is. But I get it, Arctic. I think that's fair. I mean, Vandals could be pretty intimidating, I would think. I just like a cougar though. Like I saw a cougar, like a real cougar, not that long ago, and it was at a zoo, and that cougar was like there was a family there that had like a probably like a I don't know, a 2-year-old, like a 2-year-old child, and that cougar was just eyeing that child. Like that cougar wanted to eat that child like crazy. And that family then like walked away, and the cougar like jumped up onto like a different platform in its cage just so that it could keep watching the child from afar. Anybody who's lived like around, I've heard these stories of people that like live around areas where there's cougars, and like cougars, they like, you got to watch your children around a cougar. So, okay, we'll go with cougars here. Jeanette can't support a thief, so we're going to go with the Houston Cougars. All right, we got to pick up the pace here a little bit. Okay, now we have the Blue Devils against the Horned Frogs, or Horny Frogs. Blue Devils against the Horned or Horny Frogs from TCU. Duke against Texas Christian. Texas Christian, I believe, is in Fort Worth, whereas Duke is in Durham, North Carolina. Blue and purple are kind of, they're pretty next to each other. But you guys seem to like the Horny Frogs. All right, we'll ride with the Horny Frogs. Although I would have thought like Duke, a Blue Devil, would be pretty potent. Okay, now we got the Red Storm against the Lancers. So we'll open this one up. It fits that a Christian school has horny frogs. Well, you know, sometimes you get a little repressed, I suppose. Red Storm against Lancers. Cataclysmic weather events, I think, are usually pretty potent in these kinds of things. And it seems like you guys agree. Okay, we'll go with the weather event here and advance St. John's. All right, brings us to the Louisville Cardinals. We're going to Cardinals against the Michigan State Spartans. This is Birds against Warriors from ancient Greece. That's really hard to compare. I guess the bird could fly away, but I think one-on-one, the Spartan is going to be more powerful. But let's see what you guys think. Okay, well, it's jumping around here. Okay, now we got the Spartans. Pulling ahead. I mean, the Spartans is the right answer here, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to advance the Spartans. They are the ones who advance here. Okay, then we have the, wow, okay, this is kind of an interesting battle, because now we have actual knights against paladins who are like religious knights, people fighting a holy war. And, you know, usually when people have like their religion backing them, people can get really, really, really intense. But the knight does have like a big sword thing. Like at least UCF went to the trouble of actually illustrating their knight in their logo, whereas Furman, that's a pretty like, I feel like somebody could do that logo in like Microsoft Paint pretty quickly. Like you could do that using clip art. I hope they didn't pay a graphic designer too much for that logo. Paladins had multiple kinds of armor. I mean, I wouldn't put it past a holy warrior here. You know, I would trust them to fight very valiantly. Whereas I don't know what the UCF knight is fighting for. He looks like he's just fighting for its own sake. So I'm going to go with paladins here. And let's see what we have next. Oh, we have gators and tigers. All right, we have gators and we have tigers. We'll start this poll. Okay. Gator. I don't know who would actually win. Who would win between tiger and alligator? Yeah, tiger has superior speed, agility, and power. However, if they were fighting in deep water, the alligator holds the advantage using its immense bite and force and drowning tactics. The tiger holds the overall edge in terrestrial combat. Yeah, I could picture a tiger, like, just kind of terrorizing a gator pretty badly. But this is the metrosexual tiger, that's true. So I don't know how the metrosexual tiger is going to slip through again here, but it looks like the metrosexual tiger is, in fact, going to slip through one more time. Which brings us back to the McNeese State Cowboys against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Man, that's an Americana battle. What is so a Cornhusker is just like a guy that's like, he's just a farmer, right? He's husking the corn. He's got some like vehicle. He's going out there. He's just chewing up the corn while the bugs are flying in his face, and he's wearing probably like a straw hat. But yeah, I mean, a cowboy is like cowboy's probably gonna win the fight. You would think. So the cowboy's there to fight. You know, wrangle some steer, drive a bunch of cattle up over the ridge. Uh-oh. It's trending Cowboys here. I think we're gonna have to ride with the Cowboys here, Jeanette. Because it's what the people want and it's the right answer. So I think we got to do it. We do love Nebraska though, so we'll give them their due here as they exit. You know, I was noticing, like, I was in Colorado, and Colorado has its version of Cowboys, but there is a very distinct difference between the Colorado Cowboys and Texas Cowboys. Like, if you see a guy in a cowboy hat in Texas, that guy's probably going to be tall. He's going to look like an actual cowboy. He's going to be wearing boots. Like, it's going to be very impressive. When you see Cowboys in Colorado, it's always like some paunchy guy. He's got like a big beer belly. He's usually wearing jeans and like tennis shoes, but with the cowboy hat. I just think like if you had a battle to the death between Texas Cowboys and Colorado Cowboys, it would be an absolute slaughter fest that the Texas Cowboys would win. All right, how long are we going to play this joke out? The Tar Heels here against the Quakers. So again, Tar Heel's a Confederate soldier, and the Quaker is they're pacifists, so I don't know how well they would do in a fight. You guys seem to be picking Tar Heels here. I mean, if I voted Quakers, which I could break the tie here. But it seems like Tar Heels. Tar Heels is the direction people want to go. So we'll go with Tar Heels. Advance here, which brings us to the St. Mary's Gales. The Gales, the Golden Girls, against the Houston Cougars. Let's go with the actual definition of a gale. So a gale. Oh no, no, it's gale's not. I thought like a gale was like a storm. No, a gale is a member of the insular Celtic ethnic group originating in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man, specifically one who speaks or has ancestry connected to Gaelic languages. The term refers to the Irish or Scottish population. I think somebody may have said that in the chat. Apologies. The Quaker could negotiate peace with oats. That's actually true. Yeah, maybe we moved prematurely there, Arctic. Oh well. So this is kind of like, it's like a stately Irish guy against a cougar who could probably eat him. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the giant cat could probably kill the guy. I guess there's multiple guys, but there's multiple cougars too. All right, we'll go with the cougar. Advance the cougar here, which brings us to the TCU. The horny frogs are back. The horny frogs here are back against the red storm. All right. Again, like a cataclysmic weather event is going to be very potent in this conflict. But I don't know. Everyone thinks the horny frogs are fun. So, oh no, everybody seems to think the red storm is it. So, okay, red storm advances. Congratulations to the storm, which brings us to the Spartans against the Paladins. Okay, that would be I mean, those are two like aggressive warriors. The Spartan's got more armor, but they're both going to be very motivated. The Spartan because he was raised in a culture that taught him to be a warrior from birth, and the Paladin because he's fighting on behalf of his faith. And nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants their religion to lose. But you guys are picking Paladins. Holy War for the win. Okay. Let's do it. The Holy War advances. Congratulations to the Furman Paladins. Which brings us to, okay, we got the Tigers here against the, what do we say these were? Okay, they're Cowboys. Tigers against Cowboys. So Cowboys are used to having to wrangle steer, but I bet like wrangling a tiger is harder because cows are stupid. Like, cows are big and burly, and I guess if they charge you, they can be dangerous, but they're pretty stupid. Whereas a tiger, it's like that is a trained beast of prey. So I think a cowboy might struggle with a tiger. But again, it's the metrosexual tiger. How are we going to ride with this metrosexual tiger? Okay, so we got a tie right now here in the voting. So I think we got to put an end to this metrosexual tiger. I don't know what being metrosexual would do to affect its hunting abilities, but the cowboy, that seems like a pretty rogue cowboy. He seems like he has no fear. And so if anybody's going to take out this tiger, I think it is going to be this cowboy. So we'll go ahead. We'll advance the cowboy over the tiger, which brings us to, okay, we've got the Tar Heel here against the Cougars. Tar Heels against Cougars. Think about that. Do not ride a metrosexual tiger. I didn't say don't ride a tiger at all. Man, you got a lot of people who are fans of this Tar Heel thing. All right, well, The Confederate soldier advances, I suppose. All right, now we have our cataclysmic weather event. So now we're getting into, becomes existential. So now we've got the Red Storm against the Paladin. So it's God doing like an apocalyptic weather event against a guy who is fighting on behalf of his faith. This is like there's a bunch of like biblical stories in the Old Testament where someone like goes out to the desert and they wrangle some kind of demon. You would think that the giant, like the nature, could defeat man. Ultimately, I mean, man will come and go, and nature will still be here. We will go extinct someday. Okay, Red Storm it is. Red Storm it is. We will advance the Red Storm, which brings us to the Cowboys here against Tar Heels. So now we've really got to come to Jesus, if we will, about whether a cowboy or a Confederate soldier would win. That's actually a battle I would actually find kind of interesting to see them fight it out. Some of these battles are a little silly. Of course, nobody's forcing us to take this particularly seriously, but we've opted to do that on our own volition. And, cowboy. Okay, you guys are like universal on the cowboy here. So we'll go ahead, we'll advance the cowboy, send the Tar Heel packing. The old Carolina fight song. I'm a Tar Heel born, I'm a Tar Heel bred, I'm a Tar Heel till the day I'm dead. Or no, I'm a Tar Heel till I die, and then I'm a Tar Heel dead, I think is the line. All right, Red Storm against Cowboy. That seems like an easier choice. All right, Red Storm against Cowboys. What are people thinking here? I think it's the Storm, right? Like, how on earth would a cowboy? I mean, also McNeese State. Like McNeese or McNeese. It's in Louisiana, I believe. McNeese State. Yeah, it's the Storm. It's the Red Storm. We're going to advance here. So okay, the Red Storm are got to be playing for a championship here. So somebody's got to be more potent than a giant like blood storm showering down from on high, which does seem pretty scary. But let's power through the other side of this bracket. Okay. Boy, who are these teams? Okay, so the left one is Arizona. That's the Wildcats. I don't even know who this opponent is. LIU Brooklyn? Who the hell is that? What is their mascot? It looks like a fish. The Sharks. Oh, geez. Wildcats versus Sharks. That's a little tricky, isn't it? I mean, Arizona is one of the best teams in this tournament, but maybe we should ask a poll question about that. How do we feel about Sharks performing in this tournament? It's like hailing. It's very loud rain right now. Everyone seems to be very pro-Shark here. All right, well, Arizona, one of the best teams in the tournament, getting knocked out here. So congratulations to the Sharks. They will advance. Good for them. Okay, the Villanova Wildcats versus the Utah State Aggies. Yeah, Aggies is a stupid name, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to advance the Villanova Wildcats here. They're very Christian Wildcats there at Villanova. I don't know what the High Point mascot even is. High Point. Where is High Point? High Point is the another freaking panther. A badger versus a panther. Okay, they're in North Carolina. We should probably ask about this one. Badgers versus Panthers. Cowboys herd through storms. Actually, that's true, Jeanette. But it's not just about surviving the thing. That's my point with, like, the horned frog could eat the buckeye nut, and maybe it would kill it if it ate it. But, like, the buckeye you can't even try to eat the horned frog. And so if you're just the cowboy, like, there's nothing you can, like, you can't be more powerful than the storm. You can just survive the storm. I am, like, hostile to these all of the Panthers. I just think there are too many of them. I like Panthers okay as an animal type. I just think there are too many of them in this tournament. So we'll go ahead with the Badgers and move them along here because but I'm making that decision. The Arkansas Razorbacks, so the Razorback pigs, that is a scary animal. Pig suey against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Rainbow Warriors. Razorbacks versus Rainbow Warriors. Okay, so we need quick votes here in this poll. Tess, I appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks for stopping by here on a late stream here. We are just powering our way through the March Madness bracket, and we are on the back half of it. So we're trying to figure out who's going to play against the Red Storm for the championship. All right, so who do we got here? The Pigs versus the Warriors. So people don't like rainbows here, apparently. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to advance these Pigs. Congratulations to the Razorbacks. Okay, this is the... Okay, so I got to sort through this. This was the BYU Cougars. More freaking Cougars? More Cougars, more... Okay, Cougars against Longhorns. It's kind of a fun one. Longhorn's sort of bigger. Like, if they charge at you, the Longhorn's probably scarier. But the Cougar is going to be more of like a beast of prey. All right, Cougars it is, apparently. I also don't like the split screen there. The Texas team had to play a play-in game. I'm glad the Kennesaw State logo has their team name like written out in the logo, because otherwise I don't know who Kennesaw State is. But I guess that does kind of look like an owl. So kudos to them versus the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Bulldogs versus Owls. Bulldogs is another team name that just, there's so many of them. Bulldogs versus Owls. I would go Owls myself, just on novelty alone here. And that does seem to be the direction you guys are trending as well. So I've learned that owls will scare off woodpeckers, apparently. It seems to be all the rage. People try to scare off woodpeckers with these like fake owls. At some point the woodpeckers are going to catch on that none of this is real. Hurricanes against Tigers. Boy, the Hurricane could be a tough out here. Owls steal puppies. Well, that seems not very nice. Yeah, okay, so this is Hurricanes. Thanks, guys, for getting your votes in quickly. So, yeah, Hurricanes is going to be tough. Boy, who's the opponent here? This is the Purdue Boilermakers that are represented by a train. And who are they even playing? Purdue was playing Queen's University. There's a lot of teams here from greater New York City. What is their team mascot? I can't tell. That's like a dog wearing a crown. What is this? It's the Queen's Royals. That's a pretty good, I mean, it's a good name. I mean, how could you not? Like, that would be really, really ridiculous if it was like the Queen's Tigers. The Queen's Royals versus the Boilermakers from Purdue that are trains. All right, you guys are... Brooklyn is Kings. I kind of like I mean, you guys are... Oh, no, that's a tie. It's a tie now. I find it confusing that the team is the Boilermakers, but the mascot is the train. I guess trains have boilers, use boilers. All right, if I'm breaking this tie, I'm gonna go with the Royals, because that seems fun and different. So we will go ahead and we will close that poll, and the Queens, the Queens Royals will advance. Okay, who was the opponent here? The Howard. Oh, it was the Howard Bisons. So Michigan is stupid, and so we're eliminating them. So we're just going to advance Howard. Congratulations to Howard. What the hell is that? I've never seen that mascot in my life. That is a really dopey looking mascot. Oh, that's the Billiken. The Billiken from St. Louis. We're going to look up what a Billiken is. What is a Billiken? A mythical good luck figure created in 1908 by Missouri art teacher Florence Pretz, often described as representing things as they ought to be, characterized by an impish grin, pointed head, and chubby belly, became a 1910s sensation. It is best known today as the mascot for the University of St. Louis, symbolizing luck and optimism. A jolly creature with a wide smile, squinty eyes, and a rounded belly, often depicted sitting. I think it sounds stupid, so I'm going to pick the Bulldogs. And it's okay. It seems like you guys are too. So the Billiken, he just looks dumb. I don't know. I don't want to like criticize people on their appearance, but like that's a stupid looking mascot. So we're going to advance Georgia. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Akron Zips. The Zips. Why is Akron the Zips? 1927 campus contest where a student named Margaret Hamlin proposed zippers to represent the popular rubber overshoes produced by local B.F. Goodrich. The team name was shortened to... So we're talking shoes. So Akron is a pair of shoes represented by a kangaroo mascot for some utterly incoherent reason. And Texas Tech is the Red Raiders. I do like the incoherence of the whole Akron situation there. But what do you guys think here between the Red Raiders and the Zips? Tess is sending hugs to Mrs. Land. Well, that's very nice of you, Tess. I will pass along a hug to Mrs. Land and tell her that it's from Tess. I don't know if that'll weird her out or not, but I'll tell her. I mean, I don't know. I find the kangaroo zippers interesting, but you guys seem to want the Red Raiders here, so I will go along with you and pick the Red Raiders. Big T, the little T, brings us to Alabama against the Hofstra Pride. So the Crimson Tide against the Pride. Okay, are we talking? It looks like from their logo that we're talking a pride of lions. There's like a white lion, and then there's like a blue lion that's bigger and has the mane. And together they form a pair of lions that are a pride. I assume we don't mean like pride like the deadly sin of pride. I assume we don't mean pride like Pride Month. The Crimson Tide, I mean, the Crimson Tide is named the Crimson Tide because of like a field of blood is basically the premise. Which would be an interesting thing to put up against the Red Storm. Hofstra's a good school on Long Island. Yeah, it is. It's a good school. I don't know. This is like an existential question. I need some thoughts here on pride. Like, is pride like a pride of lions is cool, but pride is also a deadly sin. I don't know what to do with this one. I mean, pride can also be like a motivator for people. Like you take pride in your heritage, and so you fight harder in battle. Crimson Tide is an ocean thing. No, that's Alabama. They don't like, they're sitting like in the, there's a story about this. It was like some journalist wrote a story about how Alabama was going to like kill their opponents on the football field so badly that they would render them dead, and their blood would spill out all over the field, and they would become a Crimson Tide. That's the story behind Alabama being the Crimson Tide, and they in similar sort of incoherence as the Akron shoe kangaroos. They are elephant. They're elephants for some reason. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, I don't know. Somebody say something here that breaks this tie. 'Cause I don't know what to vote. I don't know what to do here. It's such a like Southern kind of news article. It's a standoff. I think you would need multiple lions to take down a single elephant. But multiple lions could take down a single elephant. How would Mrs. Land vote on this? Well, Mrs. Land, I don't think Mrs. Land, well, it's a good question. I think as far as like animals go, I think Mrs. Land is likes elephants. I think she likes cats, so she would like the pride. I think she'd probably go with the pride because cats are better than. I just think that like you got cats here against Alabama. Alabama's like if you follow football, Alabama's been quite the loathsome enterprise, and it looks like we got a vote here for the pride as well. So I think we'll go for the pride. Seems like the pride is going to advance, which is interesting. Interesting turn of events here. Okay, so this is the Volunteers. A Volunteers-Quakers matchup would have been interesting. Tennessee's playing... Oh, it's the Red Hawks from Miami of Ohio. The Red Hawks. So Miami of Ohio, self-designated Harvard of the Midwest, despite having pretty easy admission standards, used to be called the Redskins, and they wussed out. They got scared in the face of politically correct pressure to change their mascot name. So they pretty early on mitigated some of the pressure, and they became just the Red Hawks. And I don't know, like how scary is a red hawk? Probably not that scary. I mean, it's probably scary if you're like a worm. But I think it's fair to go with Volunteers here. What is the Wright State team? Wright State, that is the Wolves? No, Raiders. Raiders versus Cavaliers. Cavaliers, okay, mounted soldiers, knights, or gallant courtly gentlemen. Historically, it denoted royalist supporters of King Charles I during the 17th century English Civil War, who were soundly defeated by the parliamentarians. So I don't know how much you guys remember about the English Civil War that occurred in 1642, but the followers of King Charles I unsuccessfully, they failed to defend the monarchy against an insurgent member of Parliament named Oliver Cromwell, who then proceeded to exercise like a period of terror over the British people, but in doing so did force the reform of the monarchy to be more constitutional and less divine right. So the outcome was good, but the Cavaliers were not very good fighters, and so I think I'm going to go with the Raiders here. Who is this? Okay, this was the, let's see, the Santa Clara, what is their team name? Santa Clara is the Broncos, the Santa Clara Broncos. Broncos against Wildcats. Who would win? Who would win between a Bronco and a Wildcat? A Bronco holds significant advantage over a Wildcat, such as a panther or mountain lion, in a physical confrontation due to its massive weight and strength advantage. Wildcats have superior combat skills, but a Bronco's size, between 1,200 and 1,500 pounds, allows it to stomp, kick, and crush the smaller predator. All right, well, that's pretty conclusive. It's pretty conclusive that seems like the Bronco was the way to go here. Okay, here we have a nice weather event. The Iowa State Cyclones, and that looks like a tiger that they are fighting. So Yeah, Tennessee. That's Tennessee State. It's a weird TSU. So in the past, we have opted for weather events over animals. I'm imagining the tiger being thrown up in the tornado. So we'll go ahead with the cyclones here. Sharks against wildcats. Well, we just learned that, well, we learned earlier, I guess, that we think the sharks are maybe more powerful. So we would advance the sharks here over the Villanova Wildcats. Badgers versus pigs. Well, this is a little interesting. We've got the Badgers versus the Razorback pigs. Those are two, like, pretty gnarly animals. Like, badgers have, like, they do like a stink thing. They're like skunks. They can shoot out like a stink spray as like an added layer of defense, but they're pretty stupid. The Razorback pig looks pretty ferocious there. Pigs are mean as hell, says Jeanette. All right, well, maybe we'll go with the pig here. Which brings us to the cougar against an owl. Cougar against an owl. Who would win between a... I'm thinking the cougar, right? Yeah, cougar would overwhelmingly win in a fight against an owl. Yeah, weight advantage often exceeding 100 to 150 pounds, superior strength, and lethal claws. You know, AI is really fun because whatever you ask it, it answers quite literally. That says owl. All right, why not? The owl advances. The hurricane against the royalty. Well, that's like an existential incongruence. A hurricane. A hurricane would undoubtedly win in a direct confrontation with royalty. As a massive natural force featuring sustained winds over 74 miles per hour and extensive destructive power, a hurricane causes catastrophic damage to infrastructure, which no individual, regardless of status, can stop or defeat. Well, that is a compelling argument. So I guess the hurricane. The hurricane is what we got to do. Which brings us to the bison against the bulldog. And bison is a much more powerful animal than a bulldog. Bulldog can be annoying, but I think we're going to advance the bison. I also think the Georgia logo is stupid. The Red Raider versus a pride of lions. Yeah, I'm thinking, like, if you have a bunch of lions, they're going to overwhelm the Red Raider. Like, I'm just trying to imagine any human being put in, like, a lion pit. Unless you're like Daniel in the Bible. So that says the Red Raider. All right, we'll do it. We'll do the Red Raider. Which brings us to, okay, Tennessee, the Volunteers here against the, what did we say Wright State was? They were the, I'm trying to remember. Wright State is they're also the Raiders. More Raiders? That doesn't look like a raider. That looks like a wolf or something. It makes no sense. I mean, the power of volunteering is quite existential, so I think we're going to have to go with the Raider here. Okay, now we have... Okay, what did we say this was? This was the Santa Clara Broncos against a tornado cyclone. So we've been saying weather defeats animals. So I guess we'll say the tornado advances here, which brings us to the shark against the razorback pig. I mean, it probably depends on the venue in which they're fighting, right? like, if they try to fight on land, the shark's just going to die from lack of oxygen. If they fight in the water, probably the pig will succumb to the shark. If they fought in like neutral territory, I guess you would think that the shark probably would have the day. Is my thought, I guess. I mean, shark's definitely a more powerful and scary predator, but like nobody's like fleeing the beaches because of a pig. So I'm thinking the shark has got to be the answer here. Although it is like a weird sort of baby blue shark. So yeah, Jeanette agrees. Okay. Owls against hurricanes. Okay, well, weather wins here. So hurricanes. Bisons against raiders. I just don't really have a good sense of how like good a bison is going to be in a fight. I mean, we said the raider was going to beat a whole pack of. The raider's going to go beat a whole pack of lions, and somehow the bison is going to take him out. I think it has to be the raider here. You flee the forest from the pig. I don't know. I've never fled a forest because I was worried about a pig. Maybe I did that. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, the raider kills the bison. What about the other raider? The confused raider wearing like a furry costume here. Versus the cyclone. Like a cyclone can be pretty small, right? Like a cyclone doesn't have to be like a giant ferocious tornado like in Twister. A cyclone can be kind of small. But still, like, a person is no match for a tornado, even if they are wearing a furry costume. So this is weather. Okay, we'll go with the weather. Which brings us to the shark against the hurricane. Well, remember a movie about this? No, the movie was the Sharknado, where the sharks got all spun up in a tornado. And I think the tornado was better at stuff than the shark. And so I think in this case, it's probably the hurricane. I don't know what happens. Like when there's an actual hurricane, what happens to the sharks? Do they move out of the area? Do they get killed? Like what happens? I think it's weather though. I think it's weather. I think it's the hurricanes over the sharks. Okay, this raider has been extremely resilient. He has beaten a pack of lions. He's beaten a bronco. Or no, he beat a bison. But sharks go deep, so they flee. I don't think fleeing is winning the battle, though. Like, fleeing is just avoiding the battle. I mean, eventually the hurricane, I guess, will burn itself out because it'll spin itself onto land and then it'll die. Just turn into rain, but I think the hurricane carries more potent force than the shark. Jerry, you can pick things here based on whatever you'd like, whatever you'd like. So we have the Texas Tech Red Raiders here against the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm trying to decide if this Raider guy is powerful enough to defeat a tornado, which he's probably not. I think the tornado is probably more potent. So Iowa State, I guess we will advance. Which brings us to, not surprisingly, since we've been very partial to the weather all the way along, a weather conflict here between a hurricane and a tornado. Now, the one advantage the tornado has here is that, number one, it can work on land better than a hurricane can. And number two, the winds are faster. And so I think the natural. Oh, Jeanette's pining for this Raider guy. We were cheering for the Raider, but the Raider got killed by the tornado. Unfortunately, it was tragic. I don't know. Can the tornado work on land? Like, or will land resist the tornado? Hurricanes make tornadoes. Yeah, I mean, this has to be the hurricane. So, okay, it's the hurricane, which brings us to a very interesting existential final here between The red storm. The red storm versus the hurricanes. And those are both storms. Those are both big, scary sounding storms. And I don't really know what the definition of a red storm is. Let's see, what is a red storm? Let's see what it says for that. A powerful, aggressive, or symbolic force. Okay, that's not helpful. Red onslaught, crimson surge, fury, or torrent. Yeah, well, that's up to interpretation here. Okay, I'm gonna let's we'll do a poll here for this last one. Red storm versus hurricane. What are people thinking on this one? All right, well, the couple votes that have come in all seem to be pointing in one direction, which is a little surprising, but I guess it is novel. Because it seems to be, it's like kind of the obvious choice to let the hurricane just win this whole thing. But if there's like the red storm feels like it has like biblical authority. This feels like, this is like the storm that produced Noah's flood. Maybe it is more powerful even than a hurricane. Like the big red storm on Jupiter, like giant gravity storm, probably is more potent. I think if you put a hurricane on Jupiter, Jupiter would swallow up that hurricane like it was nothing. And if that's what we're talking about here, the red storm, that red storm probably is the answer. So I guess good for St. John's. All right, we'll end it and we'll declare St. John's to be our victor. Congratulations to St. John's and the Johnnies for their victory here. So Rick Pitino and the St. John's Red Storm have won March Madness. I guess it's plausible. It seems like a long shot, but it's plausible. They're not like a bad team. The real games started on Thursday, so the first round happened yesterday and today. Today counting as Friday. The second round happened Saturday and Sunday. Third round will be next Thursday and Friday. The fourth round will be next Saturday and Sunday. And then the fifth round will be, I guess, the following weekend. Yeah, the following weekend. And then the final will be like, it's usually like the Monday right after that. So it's basically a 3-week affair here. A 3-weekend affair spread over 2 weeks or so. Well, I hope everyone's succeeding in their brackets and whatnot. All right, well, hopefully some people will watch this after the fact. There's not many people watched it during the fact. If anybody is lurking out there, though, who hasn't dropped a like or subscribe on the video, I appreciate that. The likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. Check our description, as always, for the link to our Discord, our Duck Fund, and our sister channel, LANDCasts International. I think if we put money on this bracket, we would not do very well. This bracket is highly implausible. The notion of sending McNeese State to the Final Four is absurd. All right, do we have a winner? Folks lurking around here. Jerry Carter. Jerry Carter's our winner. Congratulations to Jerry Carter on your victory. Excellent job. And enjoy your 3 cents. Jerry Carter also won the top fan here today. Calming the Chaos was 2, Arctic Cockaway was 3, Michael Frankowiak was 4, Tess Castro 5, Wild Bill 6, Target US 7, and Helms Biff 4241 8. All right. Well, I appreciate Jeanette you hanging out with us and doing the modding and all that stuff here late. Hope everything is going well in life and whatnot. Okay, well, now we know. Now we know, and we are better prepared to watch the ensuing days of March Madness as presumably the weather becomes victorious. All right, well, that's what we got here for tonight. Appreciate folks hanging out with us and watching us. We've had a lot of engagement on our videos, which has been good. Keep that up. Back to the war. The war is like a mess. All right, well, don't be strangers. We'll be back. This is Land. That ain't just speculation. For now, I hope you all have a good night.